I remember once I have a talk with our pastor, Ajay, and he said that normally for family Sunday service, sermon is short, sweet, and not very religious. Yeah. About sweet, yeah, I usually talk about love, so it should be sweet enough. And I'm not very religious person. I don't like using religious language, so it's fine here. However, while I was preparing for the sermon, I was reading The Way of Spiritual Leader through Father's guidance for how to give sermon. And I came across these words. Yeah, some laughing, some became nervous. But we will see how it will go. All right, the topic today is the reason to be happy, though I will go to this conclusion in a very roundabout way. We will get finally to it. But first I want to share with you one of my personal experiences. It happened not long ago, a few months ago. Every evening I walk my dog. And when my boys do not join me on this walk, I like to have a chat with God. And sometimes it goes smoothly, sometimes not very. But on that particular day, it was a nightmare. I started talking to God as normal. Like, dear beloved Heavenly Parent, and next second, my thoughts went to everything I heard and watched on YouTube about war in Ukraine. I wasn't talking to God about that. It was just rolling in my brain. I caught myself, thought, no, wait a second. Reset, and next moment I start thinking about all the problems at work I have. No, reset, and what shall I cook for dinner this Wednesday? Bloody hell! It was infuriating. I couldn't keep my mind on God for 2 seconds. In desperation, I just screamed, God, I love you. And all my thoughts went quiet. Except one, which I recognize as my own thought. Do you? And I was trying to argue with myself. No, I do love God. But then, if you love God, wouldn't it be easy to keep your mind on Him? Maybe you don't love God enough. And I found myself kind of sadly leaning towards the thought because it's very logical. But then my thoughts were interrupted by thoughts that came from outside, which said, wrong question. It's not about you not loving me enough. That is a problem. It's about you not loving yourself enough. That's what creates a barrier. And while I'm sure that this kind of problems with talking to God is my unique problem, but I know that not loving enough ourselves is universal. And why we need to love ourselves? Well, kind of, if to give the whole detailed explanation, I have to go into the nature of God and everything, but as I have set up time limit in the beginning, I have to pull back a little bit, because tomorrow is work, school, so we need to keep time. But if to cut it a little bit short and to the point, there is one quite significant problem in our life. Everyone believes that love is the most important thing in our life, but there is so much confusion about it. There is not even clear understanding what the love is. And why is that? Because with the fall, we not only lost connection to God, we also lost connection to our heart, understanding of our heart, and understanding of love itself completely. And we will come back to understanding of love a little bit later. But there is a good news. As God was working on restoration from the very beginning, from Adam's family, he was also working to restore our understanding of love. And God was giving throughout the history hints how we can do it. And the earliest hints I know of are this. This is quite famous quotes from the Bible about love your neighbor as you love yourself. And this is very interesting because first God gave this message in Old Testament age. And then Jesus reinforced this message, stating that there is only two main commandments: love God and love your neighbor as yourself. However, this message very often misunderstood. There is always emphasis of love your neighbor. But as for yourself, it's often considered it's not necessary. It's not that important loving yourself. It was for age, and even still is, considered to be a sin, loving yourself. But what this message talking about? It talks about give and take actions between loving yourself and loving neighbor. And here I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to principle of creation. I absolutely love principle of creation. It absolutely amazes me. And give and take action is the foundation of the universe. Divine principle explains that inside give and take actions produced all this energy and power for existence, action, and multiplication. Nothing can exist, act, or grow, or multiply without these give and take actions. And the same comes for power of love. And what is most important, that there must be a harmony between both positions. If one position becomes overpowering, there will be disharmony, disbalance, and the growth can be hindered. For that reason, we need to love ourselves as much as we love our neighbor. We need to keep that balance, and that is logical. Because when you love yourself, how would you feel? Yeah, you'll feel good. And when you feel good, how do you want other people around you to feel? Yeah, it's natural. More you love yourself, more you will be loving others. And as I said, God was giving these hints throughout the history. When people didn't get it in the Old Testament age and didn't get it in Jesus' time, God was giving it again. Here is a quote by Meister Eckhart given in 13th century. If you love yourself, you love everybody else as you do yourself. As long as you love another person less than yourself, you will not succeed in loving yourself. But if you love all alike, including yourself, you will love them as one person, and that person is both God and man. Thus, he is a great righteous person who, loving himself, loves all others equally. And as I said, this message, it's amazing, it's repeating itself through the centuries. Same message was given by Erich Fromm, psychologist, though he was a big fan of Meister Eckhart, so there is a connection. But others as well. I will not go through all those messages, but I want to show you one more message on the topic. People who do not love their nation cannot love God. Those who do not love their parents cannot love their nation. Further, those who do not love themselves cannot love their parents. Therefore, to be able to love your parents, love your nation, love the world, and love God, you must love yourself first. Otherwise, you are not adequate to love your family, your nation, or the world. Neither can you perfectly love God. Yeah, that was that message which God have reinforced for me there in the field while I was working with the dog. Then, how, how to love yourself? Any ideas? Feel free. I know we have to keep time, but
Think of all the good things you've done.
yeah, good. Let's start. Yep. Good. Yeah, that is very good. Make time for yourself. Sorry? Yeah, not very good. All those very good points. But I would give you a little advice on this. That first, whatever you do, please remember that self-love must be, first of all, proactive. Because it's not like that we are not loving ourselves. We do. Only most often it happens accidentally. We just stumble into it, and accidentally we gave ourselves love. Be proactive, take action, because it is important for you. And furthermore, be consistent. Put it in schedule, and not in a position if I ever would have a time, which could be cancelled at any point. No, if you scheduled it, keep it. Unless there is some complete disaster, keep it. Because it is important appointment, as important as anything else, never doubt. And finally, self-love must be good for you. And how to understand if it is good for you? I can give you a couple of tips. You can expand it as much as you want. I'm not kind of giving you absolute truth. I'm just giving you ideas to work with. But anything that brings you joy and satisfaction without any undertone of guilt or shame, anything that is good for your health and for your peace of mind will do. But apart from that, there are many different techniques which can help you to increase the amount of love in your life. And they're very easy techniques. Actually, a couple of years ago, I have created well-being program. Few people here have attended it. And basically, all that program is talking about how to increase amount of love in your life. And yeah, some of these points I have picked up today from that program. And one of those points is savoring. And what is savoring? If to go scientific, according to Fred Bryant, savoring is the concept of that being mindfully engaged and aware of your feelings during positive events can increase happiness in the short and long run. If to speak simply, it is about paying attention when something good happened in your life. When you see some beautiful flowers or beautiful sky, I am guilty of being sunset spammer. Because as I walk my dog in the evenings, I often see beautiful sunsets. And after I enjoy it myself, I take a picture and start sending to people, spamming people with sunset. Because I want them to come out and look at the sky, wherever they are. It's amazing, it's beautiful. And it is such an incredible tool, savoring. It's unbelievable, because it does not take time at all. We are not talking about hours, not even minutes. It's seconds. All we need sometimes, give ourselves 2-3 seconds to notice something and enjoy it and feel joy. Allow ourselves to feel joy, even if all day goes miserable. But you go and see some funny dog or a child playing or talking funnily. Stop for a second, pay attention, and it's changing you, and it's bringing happiness inside you, and it accumulates. More you savor, more happiness there will be in your life. And furthermore, you will become more resilient against all the difficulties. as I see it for myself, that every time you savor, it's like you're dropping tiny little cushion around you, tiny little soft cushion. And more you savor, better it is. Yeah, they're still dropping, so savor about. And why it is good? Because next time when life will dish you a blow, which will knock you out of your feet, and unfortunately, sorry, but that will happen. Sooner or later, it will happen. It is life. But if you dropped enough of those cushions, your fall will be not as hard. And it will be much easier to stand up. And there is a very nice words from Autobiography of True Father. When I went to the mountains, I would touch all the flowers and trees. I wasn't satisfied just to look at things with my eyes. I had to touch the flowers, smell them, and even put them in my mouth and chew on them. I enjoyed the fragrances, the touch, and the taste so much that I wouldn't have minded if someone had told me to stick my nose in the brush and keep it there for the whole day. That is a savoring from the capital S. It is an amazing example. But also savoring kind of paves the road to another tool, how to bring more love into your life, which is much deeper and more fundamental, which is mindfulness. Don't worry, I will not try to explain a lot about mindfulness because it is hopeless. There are thousands of books written on the topic, explaining this topic from all different perspectives. And they all right. So it's no hope to give huge explanation. But to emphasize what the happiness is, I would like to bring to your attention another quotation from True Father's autobiography. Actually, it's from the very first page of the preface in there. The older I become, the more it means to me that in nature, spring follows winter and brings with it flowers in full bloom. What am I that God in each season allows the flowers to bloom and the snow to fall so I might know the joy of being alive? Love wells up within me, within the deepest recesses of my heart, and I am overcome with emotion. I am moved to tears to think that everything of real value has been given to me freely. Beautiful word. And True Mother, just as well, just the same. Her words on the daffodils and bees and butterflies, and so many places in her autobiography, they filled with mindfulness. They are extremely mindful people. And what it emphasizes, what the mindfulness is understanding, feeling that you are alive right now, understanding it, feeling it. It isn't easy, unfortunately. For younger people, by the way, it is still easier because for you it's natural to receive, enjoy everything that is around you as it is right now and here. For older people, everything melts into the background of our thoughts and we don't feel it anymore. We need to put much more efforts to get to that point. But it is amazing. And if, again, to go a little bit more scientific, what is a mindfulness? It's a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging, accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. So, just to learn to pay attention to what is going on in my body. Kind of, do I feel hot or cold? And not thinking about what that means for me, this cold or hot, just to notice it. Just to notice that what kind of thoughts coming to the head. It is complicated, and I can talk about it for hours because recently I'm kind of diving more and more deeper in it and start to enjoy more and more what I'm discovering. But so have to pull myself back. But this is very important things. And mindfulness has so many benefits. It can help to control thought process. and to stop all this jumble which sometimes stresses us out for no particular reason. It helps us to overcome bad habits. It is actually the way how to build up unity between mind and body. And it teaches us to see the world around us and ourselves without a judgment. And that is very important for the next tool for self-love, self-knowledge, which long ago was thought as a very, very important. And yeah, would like to read these words. But in order to be strong, you have to love yourself. And in order to love yourself, you need thorough self-knowledge. You need to know everything about yourself, including your most hidden secrets, the ones most difficult to accept. Self-knowledge is very, very difficult. But why it is important for loving yourself? And here is a very simple explanation. Because we cannot really love anything or anyone, including ourselves, if we don't know them. To love someone or something really, you need knowledge, you need understanding. And to love ourselves, to find out what is good for me, really good for me on a deeper level. I need to know who am I. I need to know my good traits and my negative traits as well. And it is often very painful to try and understand yourself. Sorry, I was promising to be sweet, but now I talk about pain. But sometimes even to accept something good about yourself is hard. To say, oh, actually, I'm very good at that, and that. And I'm absolutely worthy to be loved, at least by myself. Even that sometimes could be very difficult. What about negative traits? Gosh, I don't want to look at them. They're scary. And furthermore, sometimes you can find not just something slightly negative, but right monstrosity sitting in there. At least that is in me. Oh, I have a monsters inside. But we need to face them. And why? Because if you don't know your monsters, then they are in hiding. You don't know what they're doing. Yeah, you don't know what they're doing, and they can pop up at any moment without any warning, and you will be not ready for them. But when they are in the open, you know where they are. You can control them. And furthermore, you can try and guide them to work in a positive way. In the end of the day, Satan have not created fallen nature. Satan have not created anything. He twisted our original nature. And by looking at our negative traits, we can untwist them back and start to use them in a positive way. And that is very important for the next level. And that is the highest level of self-love when we are coming to loving your neighbor. And here again, self-knowledge, why it's important here? Because unfortunately, before you learn to understand yourself, it's nearly impossible to start to understand others. If you don't know what's going on in your own head, how can you even dream to find out something in others' head? But to love someone, you need to not to give them what they want or what you think they need, but what they really need. And for that, understanding is needed. And it is kind of, I should say I have learned this point very hard way, unfortunately. Because I guess it's also kind of my unique problem that sometimes when you see that people making mistakes, especially like last time, around a year ago, I have noticed one person making one mistake after another, and so obvious. And I thought, I love that person. I want to help that person. And I came and started telling, you're doing that, and that wrong. And you need to do that, and that. And what I achieved, I hurt that person. Fortunately, I get enough humility later on come to that person and apologize. And even, yes, there were mistakes, but I've suddenly discovered that I'm in no place to help that person to solve them. And why? Because I don't know anything about myself. And when I start to dive deeper inside myself and start to trying to get to the core, who am I, for God's sake? All of a sudden I discovered that I sort of don't want to give any advices to anyone anymore. More I learn about myself, less I want to teach someone. Because it's not about love, going and dishing out advices. And self-knowledge in this way help to start to understand what the love is, really. And as I promised in the beginning, here's a little discussion about confusions about love, about nature of love. If we look at this world, how people often perceive love. They think that love relationship is that you give love and you receive love, which sounds logical, but not from divine principle point of view. Because what it is, it's two active forces. It's two subjective positions. It's not how things work. But in our movement, by interpreting, or no, rather non-interpreting through father's words and through mother's words, we are saying much better formula of love. Love, true love, is to give and forget. But that is not give and take action at all. Because give and take action, there should be something returning, inevitably. If you just give and forget, one side given, another received, and no feedback, that's it. Give and take action finished, no development whatsoever. But what divine principles say about that? Funnily enough, these words in colored divine principle, colored in blue, highlighted in blue, as important but not so important. From my perspective, these words need to be written in gold on a cover. When two entities, discrete manifestation of God dual characteristics, form a common base and seek to unite as a third object partner to God and establish a four-position foundation, they will engage in give and take action. In accomplishing this, the emotional force that subject partner gives to object partner is called love. And the emotional force that object partner returns to subject partner is called beauty. The force of love is active, and the stimulation of beauty is passive. And this is quite amazing, but it still sounds very dry, as most things in the divine principle. But divine principle is a skeleton, it's a structure. It's not like a beautiful book. It's a structure which helps to understand how things work. And to give it a bit more romantic perspective, we can try to explain this on an example of flowers. If you love flowers, for example, roses or orchids, what do? If you really love them, you Google up everything that needed for them, what kind of soil should be, what kind of fertilizer, what kind of temperatures and everything. And if you get everything just right, what they will return to you? Yeah, beauty. They will bloom, they will blossom, they will return beauty. And with people, it's exactly the same, minus Googling up part. That doesn't work at all. Don't even try to Google up what people need. It will not work at all. But it is exactly the same. When you get things just right for that person, they will blossom. they'll start returning beauty. And I bet that many of you have experienced this relationship between love and beauty in your life. Try to think if you have ever tried to find a present for someone who is dear to you, for some occasion. Or even maybe we were sitting at home and looked at something that is dear to you, and so, but that person may also like it, and you decided to give it as a present. And then when you brought the present to a designated person, and that person unwrapped the present, they just blossomed. Their face lit up. And maybe they were so overwhelmed that all they could say was quiet, thank you. Who had such an experience? Yeah. And in that moment, how have you felt yourself? Have you felt yourself like, thank you, that's it? A bit more excitement could be nice. Or now, even when time has passed, have you ever felt like, I would love if that person would have given something like that to me? Have you ever felt that? Oh. Because the beauty is rewarding enough. There is no other reward needed at all. It's absolutely satisfying. And in this respect, true parents absolutely 100% right. That you need to give love and forget because it's not what you're looking for, to receive back love. You're looking for to see happiness of the person to whom you give, to receive their beauty. And think if those moments with presence are the sparks of beauty, and how that felt. How amazing, how incredible. When I a couple of times experienced it, I felt almost too much. I wanted to run away and hide. It was such a strong emotion. But imagine if you can become a person for someone who can bring not just one spark, but who can change the whole life of that person. Make them permanently happier, fulfilling. Imagine, plug in your imagination, how that would feel when every time that person sees you, their eyes will lit up and they would want to dance and sing because they saw you. How that would feel. And how that would feel if there will be 10 people like that. Or 100. Or the entire Croydon. That you walk on the street and you started a festival. How would that feel? And is it selfish to want to be basking in the beauty of thousands of people, considering that the beauty is their happiness? If that is selfish, then God is the most selfish person. Because that was the original ideal of creation. The purpose of creation is God's joy, of course. But in order to ensure and fulfill God's joy, mankind and all things need to achieve abundant joy. And this is the reason to be happy. Because this is the original ideal of creation. This is when we are beginning to return beauty to God, when we become happy. And I want to end with another of my personal experiences. It actually happened a couple of months after that first encounter. I was again in the field walking my dog. And again, I start talking to God. And I said, dear beloved Heavenly Parent, I would like to share with you. And I stopped myself there. And I said, bloody hell. Do you want to talk to God? Or you want to have conversation with God? And I changed around and said, you know, God, how are you anyway? But next second I started chastising myself. How could he be? And all the images of the war in Ukraine, all the disasters in the world, all poverty start popping up in my head. Of course he's suffering. And then this all was stopped by the thought coming from outside. And that thought said, but you are talking to me now. And when I recovered a little bit, I said, but yeah, I'm glad that I can bring joy to you, God. But I feel so inadequate. I'm doing so little. I want to do so much more. What can I do? And he told me, become better at what you do and teach others to be happy. That's why I volunteered to give a sermon today. And that's why I'm so desperate to get up this well-being program off the ground. Because God wants you to be happy. He loves you so much. And even if you will not remember much from the sermon, I want you to remember these words. You can be quite confident in the fact that without you, God cannot be happy. Thank you very much.